There was a city with a well of fresh, clean drinking water. One night, a witch enchanted this water with a poison that would set anyone who drank its minds mad. As the sun rose, a guard reported what he had seen the night prior. Upon hearing about this, the king grew wary, refusing any food and drink. As the day progressed, the townspeople slowly but surely consumed this well water, slowly being plunged into a psychological ocean of emptiness. The people began to grow into a crowd, and within this crowd a thought was forming. What's wrong with our king? Why won't he drink water? Why won't he eat food? Can we really let ourselves be led by someone this mad? As this thought grew, a group turned into a mob. A mob that violently marched towards the castle gates, desperate for an answer. Facing this pressure, the king had no choice but to drink the water he knew would poison him. This is analogous to trying to live without technology in the modern era. The fear of missing out, separation anxiety, and societal work culture are the people knocking on the gates of your mind, beckoning you to drink from the well that you know will poison you, locking on to the internet. Technology has possessed the human spirit. This isn't a warning. We're already far past that point. This virus has taken a firm grasp of its host, us, an abstraction of people as a process, an incentive structure that has been manipulated by those in power, one that encourages us to stay plugged in and emotionally numb. Technology abuses our drive for comfort and the avoidance of pain to keep us tracked. These manipulations have accumulated and grown over time, and now they've accelerated to a point of unstoppability. The cyber virus has won. In the early morning of July 8th, 2022, the Canadian telecom company Rogers lost service. For the next 26 hours, 12 million Canadians lost phone and home internet. According to a report by the CRTC, the mismanagement of data distribution in the Rogers internal network was the cause of the outage. A large mass of data, normally distributed across many nodes, was redirected to the Rogers core router network. This flood overloaded the core network, crashing Rogers services across the country. Over the 26 hours of this outage, businesses couldn't receive payment, hospitals went analog, and 911 was inaccessible. Another group of chronically online customers, though, were affected a bit less tangibly. Lucky for them, Starbucks across the country weren't on the Rogers network, and so on the day of the outage, they maintained their internet connection. These internet-deprived users lined out the door at Starbucks across the nation. And why? Well, it was to post on Twitter.com. Disconnectivity anxiety is a type of separation anxiety specific to losing access to the internet during an outage. Detaching ourselves from our devices without an emotional whiplash may no longer be possible. Every single one of us knows that phone and internet addictions are a problem that plague us all. And yet, what are the best solutions we've come up with? To make your phone screen gray? To make your password longer? Isn't this all just a bit pathetic? We're alcoholics giving up our whiskey in exchange for beer, and gloating of our discipline. As a collective generation, we grew up under the emotional custody of our devices, and yet we don't want to let go. We remain hopeful that they'll show us some mercy and maybe free our minds just a little bit. But deep down we know they won't, and they never will. In spite of this knowledge, we simply fear losing access to the new set of abilities that we gained. Much like a hedonic treadmill, once humans learn to adjust to a new baseline standard, we really don't like letting it go, even if it will destroy us. Subversion is the idea that humans play defense much harder than we play offense. We'd rather avoid losing $5 than we risk getting a new $5. When you put your phone down, you're losing access to your emotion-numbing machine. With time, we learn that when we turn our attention from the interior digital space and out into the exterior physical world, to other people, we're losing something. A lesson that reinforces social isolation as an optimization. Isolation isn't just making us feel lonely, it's reshaping our minds. Over the last 10 years, a paper from USC found that extroversion and conscientiousness have been steadily declining. We're becoming less social and less able to self-regulate. And at the same time, neuroticism is on the rise too. Social anxiety, fear, and stress are all on the uptick. Technology is rewiring our minds and fundamentally altering the makeup of our personalities. The internet places an opportunity cost on disconnecting and engaging with the people around us. An opportunity cost which begins as a small, friction-filled space that you must cross to leave the digital world and to engage in the real one. A social sandpaper. What you feed in the mind grows, and what started out as a small hesitation to reach out to others builds. Other people also lay down this rough terrain. There's a cost not only to initiating interactions, but also to receiving them. As this chasm splits apart further, the distance between our souls grows and grows. This loops back around and increases the initial opportunity cost, repeating the cycle in a never-ending loop. This self-consuming loop repeats infinitely, fractaling into an apocalypse of social isolation, one where our souls are separated by miles of harsh desert, while our bodies are separated by inches of smooth pavement. Tech companies do whatever they can to lay down and upkeep this social sandpaper, a bid to keep our human souls separated. Their incentive structure is explicitly designed to keep us trapped. And yet, no one seems to fucking care.
The next station is Ambient Station.
A virus is not a living thing. Rather, it's a collection of genetic material wrapped in proteins. This group finds a host and injects it with its signal. A signal that enchants the host. In the context of modern technology, we are under the influence of a synthetic cyber virus, one that has the capacity to inject us, humans, with its signal, enchanting our psyches. Often, when anyone talks about the effects of tech addiction or social media use, they do it through the lens of a single device, monitoring phone use time, monitoring computer use time, monitoring TV use time. But it's more than that. It's not any one specific thing, but rather it's a great inhuman force that exists outside of us, that seeks to come in. This is a war that we fight globally as a species today, but we've already lost. This war has undoubtedly turned us into a collection of hosts, all with a phage embedded deep in our minds. And one question remains to be asked. Can we even be called human anymore? Tech conglomerates use these vectors as a tool for profit. They do everything they can to instill this friction to disconnection in as many domains as we the consumers are willing to tolerate. Consider how annoying it is to cancel a subscription. You have to go to some website you've never been on before, just to have a little graphic pop up and exclaim how sad he is to see you go. And then he's gonna provide you a discount code for 75% off. Of course, none of us think that these tactics work on someone as smart as us. Except, these tactics don't target dumb people, they target users. And they work. Think about how many times you've been charged for a subscription that you meant to cancel, but you just forgot to. If the force in the internet can make you forget, what else can it do? Business is no longer just about how many products you can sell. Rather, a shift towards the attention economy rewards businesses that can attain and maintain their hold on human attention. This is a reconceptualization of power, away from money and towards control. This attention capture stands in direct opposition to the cognitive autonomy of consumers. Cognitive autonomy is the ability for us to consciously direct our attention and our minds. As this arm race continues, attention capture has shifted from a specific pretension to something much more sinister. The makeup of our cognition is slowly but surely being altered in a way that leaves us vulnerable to cyberpsychic possession in all forms. Differences in political opinion are no longer something to just debate. Now, people who disagree with you are fundamentally immoral, and they ought to be socially excluded. On January 6, 2021, the world watched as Republicans attempted an insurrection on the United States government. Social media served two essential functions in this attack. It was the source of their inspiration and the place of their organization. Understanding this attack requires us to drill down the broad term social media into something a bit more specific. Two classes of social media exist: highly public, algorithmically driven hosts that adapt to our usage, and private platforms, out of view of the public eye and moderation. These platforms complement each other perfectly in the mobilization of violence. First, algorithmic platforms apply directional selection. The more invested someone is in a political party, the more likely they are to see that party's radical content. This self-reinforcing loop forms a collective identity. the mobilization of a consensus. This is followed by a migration to private platforms, where users can hide out of the prying eyes of moderation. Here, homogenous groups can mobilize action without interference. The 2020 election took place in an environment of generally quite extreme out-party hostility. The months leading up to January 6th, consensus specific to the idea of a protest had been brewing. In December of 2020, Trump brought this undercurrent to a head when he tweeted calling for a big protest in Washington. Once people had been ideologically mobilized towards the idea of a revolt, how to go about it remained a problem to solve. Many of the public social media platforms these people operated on don't allow direct calls to violence. This makes them unsuitable for the direct planning of an attack. Violent extremists treat these public platforms as coal mines, suiting up under soft, digestible ideas to lure moderates. Once they return to their private digital spaces with a fresh batch, they can continue grooming these people without worrying about any pushback. And with time, these violent homogenous groups grow in number. Worst of all, these private social media networks give these groups everything they need to plan, coordinate, and execute violent attacks. Social media companies are well aware that violence and polarization happen as a direct result of the use of their platforms. The more extreme users are, the more emotionally invested they are, and the longer their attention can be captured. Political extremism and a sense of consensus are the channels through which these companies steal our cognitive autonomy, channels which cause real-world violence. With every person who dies, some pale, circuit-skinned lizard in Palo Alto serves up another beige memo. Record high earnings, guys! Let's all hit up a quick AI girlfriend goon sesh! This outcome for the companies, of course, isn't that bad. After all, more violence means even more people are going to log on to see what their favorite content creators have to say, opening another door of opportunity to even greater polarization and more violence. Technological human augmentation of speed and access have fundamentally changed who we are. We are no longer human, we are cyborg. These modifications have given those in power a new tool to reign over our psyches: the manipulation of our emotion. A cyber virus that has opened a vulnerability in our minds, one that those in power ruthlessly exploit. Remember, money is just how poor people conceptualize power. In his tour de force work, Hypnocracy, Trump, Elon Musk, and the New Architecture of Reality, contemporary philosopher JIANWEI writes about the hyper-reality of modern technology. Simulation no longer imitates the real. It precedes it. Those in power no longer control through force, but rather through a subtle, unconscious manipulation, a manipulation which acts on our psyches through the stories we share and the media we consume. In this hypnocracy, those in control slowly but surely drain our humanity, leaving us as their puppets. To the tune of the events in George Orwell's 1984, our screens and our devices act as a telescreen, both injecting us with emotions and surveying our minds. These less explicit means of manipulation aren't any less effective. They're just harder to fight against. Except, JIANWEI isn't a real fucking person. This book was written entirely by AI. The true author, Andrea Colomadisi, wrote this book entirely in an LLM. Something you can still buy today on Amazon. Because of course you can. Why wouldn't old Jeffrey try to trick you into buying something that you could get with your free ChatGPT membership? The public response to this book perfectly illustrated its thesis, that we live in a quiet state of awareness, muffled but never entirely silent. Many articles just like this one exist, where the authors trusted this book was made by a human, spouting its creativity and raving about its originality. This hypnosis illustrates the mechanism that cyber-viral vectors like AI use to ensnare human attention. It directs our cognition and controls us into sharing its message, securing its proliferation. The kinetic aspects of war are visible all around us. We can see their blood and taste their violence. Underneath, however, there are many layers of war that we can't see, fought in invisible domains through psychological and cybernetic manipulation. In a work by François Duclazel, a retired French army lieutenant colonel, he dubbed these as cognitive wars. A cognitive war is a war fought using technology to fundamentally change the thoughts and the thought processes of those opposing you. The objective of a cognitive attack is not to instill any particular thought into the mind of your opponent, but to change how they generally approach information. This modern expansion of war is not restricted only to countries, but also includes the war that we, the consumer, fight against companies trying to consume our vril. A war for our cognition for our attention, and for the human spirit. Companies are no longer just trying to sell us their products. They're systematically poisoning the wells from which we drink, a poison that leaves us craving another glass. Privacy is a modern invention. Before, even if the entire general populace knew of a ship setting sail on a course for war, no one had the capacity to deliver that message before the ship hit shore. Hyperspeed technology, a term coined by Ashma Mullah in her book Technopolitics, elucidates this phenomenon. The access to speed made information a new domain of war. Now, espionage is a serious threat. This new domain created a territory constraint for information. This constraint was fought with an escape to privacy, and so we can learn from those who came before us. This new domain of war, the war for the human spirit, will demand even finer instruments. If informational and operational security was the antidote to the domain of information, emotional security should be the antidote to the domain of our humanness. The internet is the domain of our enemy. When we operate in this space, we need to protect our spirits. If we bond, if we fear, and if we dream in their territory, the songs of our spirits will slowly but surely be drained, leaving us barren. Countering algorithmic espionage and cognitive autonomy theft on the internet is like trying to walk through a minefield blindfolded. So we must take heed from the generals of war before us and retreat. As humans, the battleground we ought to hold is the battle of connection. As AI continues to grow closer and closer to the human capacity of knowledge, we need to protect our advantage, the ability to experience. AI can't be selfish, and it can't be kind. Again, only humans are capable of such feats. If these are our instruments in this war, offline, real-life communities are the only environment we have to hone them. Private and out of sight of our inhuman opponent, we have the resources to forge the shields we need to protect our spirits. Algorithms polarize us. They turn politics into tribes and tribes into violence. Matthew Jackson, a researcher from Stanford, investigated whether knowing someone changed this us versus them tribal attitude. He found that when people connect first and learned about each other as humans before they debated politics, tensions fell. They became resilient to the antisocial tendencies these viruses have left in our heads. This is a direct application of the human spirit, using the formation of relationships to defend against this cognitive takeover. Knowing others and engaging in community gives us the ability to see others for what they really are, our allies in a fight against the consumption of our humanness. I want to remind you that you already knew this. You already knew that technology breathed down all of our necks, seeking to possess and control our minds. I framed this video as if most people out there are willing to fight the war for their spirit and defend their consciousness. But they aren't. Many, if not most of us, are happy to sit there plugged into the simulation feed, receiving our information and our emotions. The path forward is not systematic. This tool is too powerful for us to manage at the scale of every human. Despite this, each of us within our own separate, private communities can foster a sense of spirit and rekindle the dampened flame of our souls. If you have no community, I sincerely urge you to find one. A book club, a sports drama, an anime gooner club, I don't care, anything. And if you do have a community, engage with them meaningfully. Put down your phone and invest. Do this opportunity justice and connect with those around you. A connection that no one will ever know about, except you and those you share it with. We are past the point of no return. The invention of technology was something that is simply too powerful for the human mind to fight against. And yet, that doesn't mean we need to give up hope. Isolated and inside of our own private communities, we can each foster a song of our spirits that cannot be snuffed out by the cyber virus, to protect the human spirit within each of our own private, isolated communities, to experience and to bond offline, to protect the human spirit within us. Thank you for watching, and remember, when the cyber virus comes knocking, barricade the door. And above all else, stay human.